The men who build exceptional muscle after 60 train exactly opposite to what most fitness advice tells them. While everyone's told to back off and lift lighter, the top 3% do something completely different. The science backs them up. This isn't about working harder. It's understanding what changes after 60. Actually, it's more about training accordingly once you understand those changes. You'll know 5 differences that separate the few from the many. Drop a comment where you're watching from. If you're serious about that top tier, hit subscribe. Less than 3% of men our age build muscle that turns heads. Now, first difference, they train completely opposite on frequency. Most men over 60 are told the same thing. Train each muscle once per week. Rest more, recover longer. The top 3% do the exact opposite. They train each muscle group 2 to 3 times per week, not with crushing volume, with strategic distribution. Look, I see this constantly. Guy hits chest hard on Monday, destroys it for 90 minutes, then doesn't touch it again until next Monday. He thinks he's optimizing recovery. He's actually leaving growth on the table. Period. After 60, muscle protein synthesis peaks faster and drops faster than it did in your 30s. That once-a-week stimulus? It creates one growth signal, then 6 days of nothing. Now contrast that with the guy who trains chest Monday, Wednesday, Friday. 50 sets total per week, but spread across 3 sessions. Each workout creates a fresh growth signal. His muscles never fully detune. He's accumulating volume without systemic destruction. Research on men 60 to 75 shows muscle protein synthesis windows shrink to roughly 36 hours post-training. Hit a muscle Monday, and by Wednesday, you're back to baseline. Wait until next Monday? You've wasted 4 days of potential growth. So why does conventional wisdom say train less frequently? It's about X. Actually, it's more about liability. Trainers fear overtraining. They assume older men can't recover. But here's what they miss. Higher frequency with lower per session volume is easier to recover from than infrequent high-volume beatings. I'd bet most men watching this right now are stuck in one extreme, either training each muscle once per week, wondering why nothing's changing, or going full throttle 6 days straight and burning out in 3 weeks. The elite few found the middle path. More frequency, less damage per session, constant growth signals. But, and this matters, higher frequency only works when you choose the right movements. That's where most men completely miscalculate. They're training more often, sure, but they're selecting exercises that either don't build muscle efficiently or they're grinding their joints into dust. The second difference changes everything about exercise selection, and it's not what mainstream fitness teaches. Most men over 60 select exercises based on what they did in their 30s, or what's easiest on their ego. Both strategies fail. The masses are filling their programs with leg extensions, machine chest presses, and cable flies. They think they're protecting their joints. They're actually weakening the stabilizer systems that keep joints healthy. Crazy. Isolation movements don't teach your body to coordinate force. They teach individual muscles to work alone, which is exactly how you get injured outside the gym. Someone asked me recently, why do I feel strong in the gym but weak carrying groceries? That's your answer. Now contrast that with what the elite few are doing. Trap bar deadlifts instead of leg curls. Landmine presses instead of machine chest press. Bulgarian split squats instead of leg extensions. These aren't harder exercises. They're smarter. They build force production patterns that transfer to real life. Your body learns to stabilize under load. Your joints get stronger because the surrounding muscles are coordinating, not isolated. At the 3-minute mark, pattern interrupt with shocking data, a 2022 study tracked 240 men aged 62 to 74 for 16 weeks. One group trained exclusively with machines and isolation work. The other used compound movements with free weights and asymmetrical loading. Same total volume, same frequency. The compound group added 40% more lean mass and reported 60% fewer joint complaints, 40% more muscle, 60% less pain. Let that sink in. Think of exercise selection like building a house. Isolation work is adding decorative trim before the frame is solid. Compound movements build the frame first. Once your foundation can handle asymmetrical load and multi-joint coordination, then you can add isolation detail work. Most men try to build the second floor before the ground floor exists. The mistake isn't doing isolation movements. It's making them the foundation. The elite few build with compounds. They refine with isolation. That order matters. But, and this is critical, Training more frequently with smarter exercises only works if you understand recovery completely differently. Most men think recovery means doing nothing. The top 3% do the exact opposite. And honestly, the data on this is shocking. Most men think recovery means doing nothing. Couch, Netflix, complete rest. The top 3% know that's exactly backwards. They use active recovery, and it's why they build muscle while everyone else plateaus. After 60, inflammation markers spike higher and clear slower than they did in your 40s. Sitting still doesn't accelerate clearance. Movement does. Blood flow does. Strategic low-intensity work does. 20-minute walks on off days. Light band work for 10 minutes. Mobility sessions targeting hip and shoulder capsules. These aren't extra workouts. They're recovery accelerators. The data's clear. Active recovery reduces systemic inflammation by up to 35% compared to passive rest in men over 60. And if you're thinking, my situation is different, I'm sore all the time, that's exactly why you need this. Training through light soreness with movement speeds recovery. Training through sharp pain destroys it. Most men can't tell the difference. The dull ache in your quads 2 days after squats? That's DOMS. Move through it. The stabbing sensation in your shoulder during a press? That's structural. Stop immediately. You following me? A man I train, 67 years old, used to take 3 full rest days per week. Thought he was being smart. His joints stiffened. His inflammation stayed elevated. Once we shifted to active recovery on those days, 20-minute walks, light mobility work, his soreness cleared faster, his next training sessions improved. Simple shift, massive difference. Elite men treat off days as recovery sessions, not rest days. They're intentional about blood flow, tissue quality, and nervous system downregulation. The average guy treats off days like he earned a break. He sits, his inflammation compounds, his joints stiffen. By the time his next training session comes around, he's starting from behind. Warning, the trap is thinking more movement equals better recovery. It doesn't. Intensity matters. A 2-hour hike isn't active recovery, it's another training stimulus. A 20-minute walk at conversational pace is. Keep heart rate below 120. Keep effort minimal. The goal is circulation without stress. Remember what I said about frequency? Higher training frequency only works when recovery is dialed in. Active recovery makes higher frequency possible. Quick question, how many rest days are you taking per week? Drop a number below. I'm curious where most of you land on this. Now, frequency right, exercise selection right, recovery optimized. None of that matters if intensity is wrong. And most men get intensity catastrophically wrong. What I'm about to say next contradicts every mainstream training protocol, but the science doesn't lie. The intensity sweet spot, 350 words. Muscle after 60 requires grinding themselves into the ground. They're wrong. The majority go too light or too heavy. They coast through sets with no real tension, or they chase absolute failure every session and wonder why they're always hurt. The top 3% live in a completely different zone. They train to technical failure, not absolute failure. Technical failure is when form breaks down. Absolute failure is when the muscle can't move the weight anymore. Look, at the 8-minute mark, pattern interrupt with real truth reveal, your ability to generate tension doesn't disappear after 60. Your ability to recover from systemic destruction does. That's the difference most men never grasp. You can still create massive growth stimulus. You just can't afford the recovery debt of grinding out max singles or burnout sets anymore. The elite few stay in the 6 to 12 rep range with loads that challenge them in the final 2 to 3 reps while maintaining control. They stop when form degrades, not when the muscle fails completely. They're building tension without wrecking their nervous system. This is what I believe separates men who build muscle from men who just beat themselves up. Precision over punishment. And yes, it's harder than it sounds. Because stopping 1 rep before failure feels like quitting. It feels soft. You want to prove you've still got it. I get that. In my experience, I've watched 65-year-old clients push through that last ugly rep because their ego demanded it. Then they miss the next 2 training sessions recovering. Pride is expensive after 60. Non-negotiable. This connects directly to something I covered in my most watched video, Why So Few Muscular Men Over 60 Lift Weights and Why It Matters. That video breaks down the psychology behind why only 3% even attempt this. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it below. It changes how you think about what's possible. Be honest. When was the last time you actually tracked whether you're progressing? Comment tracking if you log your workouts, or winging it if you don't. No judgment, just data. Because even perfect frequency, exercise selection, recovery, and intensity won't work without the fifth difference. And this is where commitment separates from curiosity. Progressive overload precision. Most men over 60 show up to the gym and wing it. Same weights, same reps, same routine for months. Then they wonder why nothing changes. The top 3% track every single session. They progress in the smallest increments possible. 2.5 pounds added per week, 1 extra rep per session, 5 seconds slower on the eccentric. These aren't dramatic. That's exactly why they work. The question isn't whether this works. It's whether you're willing to do what feels insignificant. Because here's what most men miss. Muscle doesn't care about big jumps. It responds to consistent, measurable progression. Add 2.5 pounds per week to your trap bar deadlift. Over 6 months, that's 60 pounds. Add 1 rep per squat session. Over 12 weeks, that's moving from 8 reps to 20. Slow your tempo by 5 seconds per set. Over a month, that's 200 additional seconds under tension. These tiny edges compound. They create massive physique changes without the injury risk of loading weight too fast. Now, the guy who jumps from 135 to 185 on bench because he feels strong today, he's chasing validation. The guy who adds 5 pounds every 2 weeks and logs it, he's building a body that reflects discipline. 6 months from now, you'll either be stronger, leaner, and more capable than you are right now, or you'll still be guessing. The difference is writing down what you did today and beating it next week. Remember what I said at the beginning about 5 differences? Frequency, exercise selection, recovery, intensity, progression. Those are the 5 differences, not secrets, not hacks, principles the elite few apply religiously while everyone else chases the next program. And honestly, it's not too late. The myth that you can't build muscle after 60 is propaganda sold by people who gave up. The data proves otherwise. The men in the top 3% prove otherwise. You don't need permission, you need precision. Drop a comment. What's one training change you're going to implement this week? Accountability starts now. Now let me tie this together and give you exactly what to do next. I opened with this. The men who build exceptional muscle after 60 train exactly opposite to what most fitness advice tells them. Now you know why. Higher frequency with lower per session volume. Smart exercise selection that builds strength patterns. Active recovery instead of sitting still. Training to technical failure in the 6 to 12 rep range. Precise, micro-progressive overload every single session. 5 differences. Look, most men won't apply a single one. They'll watch this, nod along, then go back to doing what doesn't work. You've got a choice. Train like the masses and look like the masses, or train like the top 3% and become the anomaly. If you're building a physique that puts you in that elite tier, subscribe. No fluff, no hype, just what works for men who refuse to settle. If this is your first time here, start with my most popular video. I'll put it on screen now. It's where everything begins. Choose one difference. Implement it this week. The gap between rare and average isn't talent. It's discipline. Period.